and welcome to All People's Church, Unitarian Universalist. Whether you're here out of curiosity, out of habit, out of friendship, or as a long-term commitment, we're happy to see you. I'm Marianne Clark, your co-celebrant for today. In the pulpit is our guest speaker, Kendra Weddle. Kendra is a scholar in residence at North Haven United Methodist Church in Dallas and is a frequent celebrant here at All Peoples. Our theme for the month of March is paying attention. We're especially pleased to welcome those who have not been here before in our blessed community. For more information about us, please utilize the QR code found on the back of the service for our social media platforms. If you haven't yet done so, please sign in at the visitors table by the front door, where you can be placed on our mailing list to receive our weekly emails and our monthly newsletter. At the end of the service, please stay and join us for coffee and conversation in the library at the back of the sanctuary. Please settle now comfortably for our musical prelude.
How can we not say good morning to that? Thank you, Misha. Our call to worship this morning is called to practice the revolutionary act of noticing. And it's by Reverend Michelle Collins. Hear what she writes. Come, awaken your senses to this moment, where we practice the revolutionary act of noticing the breath that sustains us, the beauty hiding in ordinary hours, the small things that keep hope alive. Come, let us train our attention on that which leads us home.
We now invite you to rise in body or spirit for our chalice lighting, our opening hymn, and our spoken affirmation. Our chalice lighting words come from Reverend Scott Taylor. We kindle this light to help us look upon the world anew. May it help us to remember that reverent eyes lead to revelation. In the glow of this hour, may attention be our prayer, the vehicle through which we love this world and enable it to love us back. Please now join in singing our hymn of the month for March, sorry. I've been at an educational conference the last 3 days, and I'm just totally brainwashed. Our hymn is number 368, Now Let Us Sing.
Sing the power of the Lord within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the truth within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the love within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the joy within.
That was fun. Please now join in reciting our affirmation. The words are in the order of service and are also not projected on the screen. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. Also projected on the screens. Love is the doctrine of this church.
The
quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. The young and the young at heart have now come forward for our time for all ages here at the front of the chancel.
Hi, friends. Look at all of you here today. It's so great to see you. How are you? Good? Have you enjoyed this beautiful morning so far? There you go. I noticed when I came in this morning, these rocks. I think you saw these rocks last week, didn't you? Yep. Do you remember what you talked about? Nope. Some of you want to hold these. Do you want to hold this? Do you want to hold one? Yeah.
This one's pretty
Yeah.
heavy.
Is it pretty heavy?
Yeah, it's pretty heavy and it's cold.
It's cold. I'm so glad you're noticing that. I kind of, oh yay, hello friend. So I wonder, I'm glad that you noticed that it was kind of chilly and it was kind of heavy, right? And they have words written on them, right? Yeah. It does. It goes all the way around on both sides. See, you're paying good attention. Look at that, right? I wanted to talk with you today about how it is that you kind of engage with the world and learn about the world and the different ways in which we do that. And so you've already done that this morning with these rocks, right? Because you picked it up. I handed it to you and you took it, right? And you felt it. Is that one of your senses, right? Touch? Is that one way in which you learn about the world? To touch? How else do you learn about the world? Smell. Oh, and see, right? Right. And how do you observe?
Feel?
Okay. So good, right? And you're doing that with your eyes, right? And also taste. Oh, there you go. You're holding it up, right? You were just waiting, right? Smell, taste, hear, see, right? Touch, right? Yeah, yeah. So all these 5 ways in which we, yeah?
Yeah, I can feel rain.
You do feel, right? Yeah, that's so good. So, did any of you smell something particular this morning? Did you smell like a fresh flower? Did you smell breakfast? Coffee? Yes. Oh, dog breath. Yeah. Me too. Oh, yeah. Oh, you had eggs and biscuits? I want to come to your house. Okay, fair. So all of these are ways in which we learn about the world. And so I wanted to just suggest to us today that we really pay attention to those. So as you go throughout your day today, maybe think about all the ways in which I'm learning about the world every moment, every second. Can you do that for me?
This rock says justice. Can I throw it at people that I don't like?
I kind of don't think so. But thank you for coming up and chatting with me today. It's always so good to see you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Awesome. Way to go. Thanks, you all. And I think we'll sing them out, right? Oh, thank you. And they're warm now.
Yeah, because we've been holding.
Because you've been holding them. Exactly. You all are so smart. As we leave this empty place,
Our spotlight on leadership this morning is going to be given by Paul Chapman.
Okay. Well, good morning. I have good news and bad news. The good news is we are all here, we are all together. The bad news is we are all here and all together and 1 week closer to the pledge drive. Leading members of the congregation, so I am told, have been lined up to speak on this subject over the next few Sundays. I can only assume I was included to provide comic relief. Now, we all come from different backgrounds. I was raised by wolves. Well, lawyers, same thing. Dyed-in-the-wool, bloody-minded liberal Democrats, deeply suspicious of Bernie Sanders' conservative impulses. And because of that, my life lens is politico-legal rather than theological. For me, the need for the pledge drive to sustain this church is political. These are hard times politically, and we need places like All People's Church. It's a refuge of reason, humanity, and healing in a maelstrom of self-dealing greed and hatred that is swirling around this country. These are also hard times financially. Anybody been to the gas station lately? Both for us as individuals and for the church. Every month, our church can pay some of its bills entirely, others of its bills partially, and that's not even taking into account those little vicissitudes visited on us by poor plumbing, roof leaks, vandalism, bad weather, and a generally aging building. We don't have a lot of deep pockets in this congregation. Most of us here live paycheck to paycheck, or we're on fixed incomes, although I don't know why they claim those incomes are fixed and mostly seem broken. And it's easy to resent being asked to dig deeper when you're already on the thin edge. Now, in my field, political science, the three interchangeables in assets are money, time, and skill, and it's the same for the church. When money is short, we adapt, providing our labor and our talents and our time to help sustain the church, trying to do less with more. The problem with doing less with more is, or more with less rather, I got that backwards, didn't I? The problem with doing more with less is that less is still less. Now, we have to find a way to make this work, to keep this church going. I have 4 suggestions. First, if you haven't already, we can up our pledges. Even by a little bit will help. If your pledge is $100, make it 101 or 102 or 103. Second, if you're having a good week, drop a couple of extra bucks in the collection basket as it comes by. I expect my brilliant rhetoric will result in a bigger payoff this Sunday. Third, if you're able to volunteer a bit more, whatever skills you have, I bet we can find a way to exploit them. And fourth, take personal action to increase membership in the church. We need more seats in the seats. Invite a friend, an acquaintance, a co-worker to come to church with you. Make it on first Sunday, mind, because if we feed them, they're liable to come back. Find kindred hearts and spirits wherever you are. Wear your Unitarian Universalist values on your sleeve. Hanging around a water fountain at work, on your lunch breaks, whatever. Talk up your UU values and the UU activities that this church fosters. Creating a viable church community requires activity, not passivity. Holding ourselves exclusive from the rest of our fellow men is not advantageous to the church. You may tick off somebody, but who knows? You might find a soul out there that's looking for a place like this. So that's the end of the lesson. Thank you all for your patience, and we will see you between the fog and the grog.
Will the ushers please take the offering now?
At this time in our service, we pause to honor and give time and attention to those things most important to us. We gather here for healing and for peace in our hearts and in the world, and honor our time together with the shared stories and news from the congregation. Each week there is a journal. Did somebody bring it up? Each week there is a journal outside the entrance to the sanctuary where you can write a message of memory or hope. We honor these messages by lighting 3 candles next to our chalice. Also, at any time during the service, you are welcome to come forward and light a candle in our meditation center here at the side of the chancel. Today, from our Book of Memory and Hope, we include the following. First, good news. Joel Bailey and Charlotte Bailey celebrated their 27th wedding anniversary on Friday, March 20th. Not so good news. Jane Collins has RSV. Jane Collins has RSV. Be careful. Words are from Michelle Collins. Spirit of truth, we come seeking the courage to see ourselves clearly, not the selves we perform for others or the selves we wish we were, but the actual landscape of our hearts, the fears we dress as principles, the exhaustion we ignore, the joy we rush past without naming. Teach us to notice what stirs in us without shame or hurry. Help us befriend our limits as sacred boundaries, to track what makes us alive and what drains us dry, to honor our body's wisdom when it whispers. May we grow gentle and honest in our own presence, learning to see ourselves as we are held, beloved, finite, and becoming. Let us pause now for a few moments of quiet meditation to uphold and uplift the sorrows both spoken and unspoken among us. And then Misha will lift our hearts with music.
When I was in my teens and working on my family's farm in western Kansas, I learned that inches matter. Because I had pestered my father until he relented and allowed me as a girl to learn to drive the tractor, during harvest, that meant I often drove the grain cart. Now, for those of you who might not know, the grain cart is that large container on wheels that's pulled behind a tractor in a harvest field. You'll sometimes see one driving alongside the combine. You know the combine? The other big machinery in the field that has the thing like going around and around. And you'll sometimes see the combine and the tractor making their way down the field together. And this grain cart tractor driving exchange with the combine happens on the go because it's very important to keep things moving. Having uncut grain in the field is like dollar bills flitting about in the wind. And so they need to be gathered up as quickly as possible. Literally, time is money. And as you may have seen, if you've ever watched the dance of a grain cart and a combine working their way down the field, the margin of error is slim. One slight miscue means the combine header, that thing that's going around, is damaged by one of the tractor tires. Now, the first part of getting this alignment right is the speed. And the speed is always variable because the combine is having to adjust to the density of the grain being cut. And so as the tractor driver, I had to react to the speed, always changing, in order to make sure that the grain cart was in the right spot to actually get the grain. Because let me tell you, I know this from personal experience, grain on the ground is not a happy thing. Then, in addition to the speed, there's the ever-changing question of the distance between the combine header and that tractor tire. Today, since planting is more precise because of GPS, the rows are straighter, and that helps with driving straight. But when I was back running the grain cart, we didn't have GPS, and so our rows were a lot less precise because they ended up like, okay, so you would set your eye on this object, wherever, clear over there, and keep your eye there as you're driving. And then you hope that by the time you get to the other side of the field, your row is straight. It's not very straight. So there was always this dance then of, am I driving the correct speed and how do I keep the speed where it needs to be and the distance between the header and the tire. It was nerve-wracking, to say the least. And it was in those sweaty palm, heart-racing moments that I learned the challenge that paying attention to inches matter. And even though we do not mark paying attention to our lives in inches, I do think that it is in small increments that we learn to listen, that we learn to unlock clues, and that we begin to understand connections and patterns. So today I want to share with you a story that's about this. And it comes from an Armenian fairy tale. And the story goes like this. Once upon a time there was a wolf that slaughtered a great many sheep and reduced many people to tears. But one day, for some unknown reason, he suddenly felt the pangs of conscience and began to repent of his earlier life. So the wolf decided to reform and to slaughter no more sheep. When he had made up his mind, he went to the priest, and he asked the priest to perform a service of thanksgiving. The priest began the service, and the wolf stood there in the church, weeping and praying. Since the wolf had slaughtered many of the priest's own sheep, he prayed quite earnestly for the wolf's reformation. Suddenly, the wolf happened to look out the window, and he saw a herd of sheep. So he began to fidget. But the priest kept praying on, and it felt like this prayer was never going to end. At last, the wolf could contain himself no more, and he shouted, "Finish it, Father, or the sheep will be all gone, and I'll be left with no supper." So I want to kind of work with our fairy tale a little bit this morning and see what might come out of it. For some unknown reason, the wolf wakes up to the pain that he's caused. And that pain against other animals and people involves at least two things, probably more. But taking what is not ours, right, speaks to us as perhaps selfish or self-centered, and also not thinking of others before ourselves. In other words, kind of centering ourselves. And at least those two things are going on in the story. And I think those aspects are connected. And I think I'm guilty of this probably all the time. I was reminded of this, I'm reminded of it a lot, but one time that stands out to me, I was recognizing how often I'm not paying attention to the resources that I use and not thinking about the impact of that on subsequent generations. Well, several years ago, my husband and I had an exchange student who was staying with us. He was from Germany. And when he helped me doing the dishes after a meal, his care in scraping out every last morsel of food into leftover containers kind of made my more half-hearted, quick attempts seem a little insufficient. I tended to value the time more than the precision, scraping the dishes quickly in order to get on to the next thing. But his deliberate action helped me to focus more intently on saving everything that I could. And I think about that often, every day as I'm scraping those leftovers into the container. But there's another aspect of this story that also strikes me as kind of maybe helpful fodder for us. The wolf apparently thought that the work to get his conscience and actions into alignment was like a one-time solution, right? Like kind of one and done. He made up his mind. He assumes that he's ready to move right on to Thanksgiving. Kind of took care of it here, and I'm ready to celebrate. And I kind of think that there's some hubris there, right? In thinking that he knows more than he really knows. Because as we all know, life is practice. We have to keep returning in order to get closer and closer to our intentions. So for me, learning to drive that grain cart straighter and with better precision, it took time and practice. And I'm not talking about 1 year, multiple years, year after year after year, and still I never got perfect. There was still often grain on the ground and people unhappy about that. But I also want to just kind of raise the final part of the story, that maybe there's another clue for us there as well. The sheep will all be gone and I'll be left with no supper, he says. And that makes me think about our challenge of clinging, not surrendering. And I think that keeps coming back over and over again, that the clinging that we do is kind of our default. And how is it that we learn to stop clinging and instead to surrender? Now, I think surrender is difficult to kind of wrap our heads around. Maybe it's an underlying attitude, is at least one way to think about it. It's a perpetual letting go. The word surrender means to hand over oneself or to entrust oneself. It's voluntary, and I think it comes from a place of strength. And the reason I say that it's an act of power is because surrender opens the heart to the subtle realms of wisdom and energy. It's only in surrender that we learn how to let go, to stop clinging. It's a posture that bottles up divine flow rather than letting ourselves be obstacles to the flow. How do we become a conduit rather than an obstacle? Someone suggests that a no-frills version to surrender means to try not to do anything when we are feeling a state of brace, when we're kind of bracing. Like that any bracing position throws us immediately into kind of our smaller self. And that smaller self with its incessant wanting, needing, insistence. Instead, what if we become able to maintain this open inner gentleness? And can we do that even when we are faced with a perceived threat? And if so, how do we do it? The contemporary writer Cynthia Bourgeault suggests that when someone is living from a place of surrender, that synchronicity tends to follow. So she writes about this experience of someone she knows, and this person, her name's Sharon, she had an art show. And this art show was several miles from her home, and she lives in Maine, and so it was several miles away from her home through rural Maine. So Sharon had packed her car full of pottery that she had thrown and glazed and was ready to transport to the show. But her car had other plans. And it broke down partway there in rural Maine, in a place where there was not frequently other cars in the area. And when that happened, Sharon's first reaction was one of stress and worry. What would she do? Was she going to miss her show? What would happen if she missed her show? All of those things, right? But then quickly she remembered, surrender. Can I find a way to surrender in the midst of this? And so she let go of her panic. And she took some deep breaths. And she thought, well, I'm still here. God is still here. I wonder what's going to happen next. And it was at that moment that she began to recognize what was around her. She's there in rural Maine, and it was spring. And she started to see the flowers that were coming into bloom. She could smell their fragrance. She could see the bright green leaves of the tree. She could hear the bees humming in the distance. She got so caught up in being in the midst of all that liveliness that she didn't even hear the motor, the engine of the tow truck that just happened to be showing up. While it's easy to get kind of caught up in the delight of the synchronicity, Bourgault does caution us that these are not the main event, not the real miracle. The miracle occurred when Sharon relaxed enough to recognize the forces of life all around her, to realize that she was a part of it, not apart from it, and that all she had to do was pay attention. I think that sometimes our reactions against such experiences and against trusting that divine energy is pulsating in and through and around us is simply because of all of the bad theology that's all around, all of those who have laid claim to how God should be named and identified. And all that sometimes causes us to miss all these divine sparks that are just emanating around us, hoping that we'll kind of get our tuning fork attuned and listen. So for this reason, I'm drawn to how the writer Barbara Brown Taylor writes about God. So I want to share this image with you. She says, awakening to divine reality, I think of a luminous web. When I'm dreaming quantum dreams, she writes, what I see is an infinite web of relationship flung across the vastness of space like a luminous net. It's made of energy, not thread. As I look, I can see light moving through it as pulse moves through veins. What I see out there is no different from what I feel inside. There is a living hum that might be coming from my neurons, but might just as well be coming from the furnace of the stars. When I look up at them, there is a small commotion in my bones as the ashes of dead stars that house my marrow rise up like metal filings toward the magnet of their living kin. Where am I in this picture? I am all over the place. I am up there. I am down here. I'm inside my skin. I'm out. I am large compared to a virus and small compared to the sun, with a life that is permeable to them both. Am I alone? How could I ever be alone? I am part of a web that is pure relationship, with energy available to me that has been around since the universe was born. Where is God in this picture? God is all over the place. God is up there, down here, inside my skin and out. God is the web, the energy, the space, the light. Not captured in them, as if any of those concepts were more real than what unites them. I sometimes think of this idea of entrainment. I think you know this word. The process of synchronizing personal, internal, or bodily rhythms. Maybe the way that we've heard of this is through the physics concept, where there are two oscillating systems and they fall into harmony, like pendulums hanging on the same wall, or insects that chirp or blink together. I think when we begin to pay attention, we will notice this harmonization is taking place. And in our willingness to surrender, we move into the process of that time, of that being in tune. Okay, granted, this can all sound purely esoteric and maybe not very helpful. Thank you very much. So instead, let me leave you with a little light homework, just to try it on for size if you're willing. Start with the small things. So for example, waiting in line at the grocery store. There is a part of you that feels urgent, constrained, put upon, right? When you're standing in line? Or is it just me? I think there's a part of us that we feel that. But I think there's also another part of us that somehow knows how to sink into the moment, into that spaciousness, and to find delight in exactly where you are. Like there's this kind of both and going on. This either I'm feeling put upon and this needs to move quickly, or what if I just slow down, take it in, appreciate where I am. And if we can try to live into that second piece, that take it in, be okay with where you are, find delight in the situation, that in that moment we are learning how to surrender. We're choosing that path of surrender in that non-life-threatening way. That's really low stakes, y'all. We can do that. And when we begin to exercise that muscle, every time we're standing in line, that muscle gets a little stronger. We're learning to go with the softness, with the yes, with the delight, with the possible connection. That muscle gets stronger and stronger. And we learn to live in that place of surrender, of gentle, of openness. Paying attention takes practice. But this is just one tool in the gateway to the experience of being alive. And that's worth all of our good effort, isn't it? I think so. Amen. I invite you now to sing with me. Let's stand and sing together hymn number 20, Be Thou My Vision.
Our chalice extinguishing words are from the Reverend Michelle Collins. The flame goes out. 1,000 things now wait for your attention. Choose carefully what receives your gaze, your time, your wonder, for what we attend to is what we become.
Following the benediction, I invite you to stay for coffee and conversation in the library right behind the sanctuary. So hear this benediction, friends. The wolf in our story reverted to cleaning and doing what he had always done. But we know the value of practice, paying attention, of learning over time to let it go.